everybody, Lori here from Unique and Creek. Sorry I'm a bit late. I was having some technical difficulties. My tablet I couldn't get working. So I had to go to plan B and get my computer here. How is everybody? I know this is kind of impromptu, but I am busy in the next little bit, so I just wanted to get some workshop how-tos out of the way so you guys have that information should you want to hold a workshop. So I am just going to pull you guys up here. That's me. Oh. I'll have to change the, honey, we'll have to change the title of this. Hi everybody. Hi Rose Harvey. Hi Evelyn. Hi everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how you can run a character wreath workshop. Now character wreaths are really popular through the holiday season from like Thanksgiving on. And it's a really great wreath to make for a workshop because it really is not that hard. It's more prep for you as the instructor beforehand than it actually is for the students. So it's kind of good in a way because the students don't get stressed and they have a lot of time to talk in between making the wreath and stuff and having a good time. And the outcome of the wreath is really adorable. This is one of the faves when I used to do workshops, was the character wreaths, because they are just so darn cute. They really are. On our Facebook, or on my website, I do have many digital inserts that you can download. And once you purchase those digital inserts, you can print as many as you want. There's some digital inserts that you'll see tonight that I'm going to show you a few that are not on my website. That is because I did not create them, and but I did buy the rights to sell them in a physical form. So we are, I think by the weekend, we should have all our paper inserts online that you guys can actually buy the paper copies from us, and we'll send them to you. So you will get them printed for you and on the right paper, in the correct format and all that stuff. And then you just have to once you get them, you just have to cut them out and Mod Podge them on the boards. Like I said, this is the most popular wreath. Not this one per se, although Santa is very popular. But the character wreaths with the spaces are very popular through the holiday season. So if you're thinking of doing any kind of workshop, you probably should plan on maybe doing a character one because they just are that popular. I like to add lights, so you can get these LED warm lights from me. They're really hard to find. And I did find a supplier here in Canada, of all places. Hold on, I'm talking right now. Sorry. Dave made me a beignet. Sorry. I did find a place in Canada that actually has these lights, and they are timered. The nice thing about the timered lights is because people don't really have time to shut off the wreath or to remember to shut off the wreath. The timered lights are amazing because once they're on the wreath, they turn them on. So if they turn them on at 6 o'clock, they will shut themselves off at midnight, and they'll turn themselves back on at 6 o'clock again. And it'll do that every night consecutively. So you don't have to remember to turn them on or off, which is really great because I'm really bad for that. I wouldn't remember to shut my wreath lights off. On the boards, they're really easy to use with the lights, and it just takes that, makes the wreath just that much better. So you can offer, if you're doing workshops and you want to buy some lights, you can offer them for, you know, I would say if, like when I was doing my workshops, if they wanted lights, it was an extra $5. They would just have to bring $5 to the workshop with them, and they could buy the lights right there. And then if they didn't want the lights, then they didn't have to purchase the lights. I'm just going to turn this light down a little bit. Okay. So tonight what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing this Santa. Okay, I've already pre-Mod Podged this on the board already. So I'm going to use another face to show you guys how I Mod Podge. Now, when I do character wreath workshops, I Mod Podge on the board for them already. It's just less hassle, less supplies you need to bring to the workshop, and then you're ensured that the Mod Podge is going to be dry, and it's not going to get all scratched up and stuff when they are making their wreath. Another thing you may want to get, now depending on what face or whatever you're doing, you'll want some accessories. So for Santa, we're going to use these Santa hats. Now I purchased these hats at the Dollar Tree for $1. So to do Santa is pretty inexpensive. And you can also use, if you do offer the Grinch, now I do have a similar Grinch style face on my website. I did draw it myself, and it is Grinch inspired. So when they pick Grinch, I usually give them a Christmas hat or a Santa hat as well, because it looks really, really cute on the Grinch. But you can do, like if you're doing a snowman, you can give them a snowman hat or whatever, just for the accessory. Okay, so I'm just going to set these aside. And we're also going to put a little stuffing in the hat, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Pardon? Oh, it's going to be a character workshop. Okay, so we are going to add some lights to this one. They're going to need zip ties. They're going to need 16 zip ties for the inner and 8 for the outer. So that's 24. Yes, 16 plus 8, 24. They'll need one for the hanging. And yeah, that's it. You need some sandpaper. Now, you don't have to give that your attendees sandpaper, because you're going to Mod Podge your face or your sign or whatever you're going to put in the middle of your wreath ahead of time before the workshop. So you'll just need one piece of sandpaper. You're going to need to give them, I give a piece of cardboard just like this at 9 inches long. This is going to be our measuring tool, and it's very simple to use for them. And if you just cut it 9 inches, and I do 6 inches as well, going this way, because I also use this when I'm doing flower workshops as well. So we'll use the 6-inch part going this way to make the flower center. But the lengthwise, we're going to use 9 inches, and that's going to be for our poofs and our ruffles that we're going to make. Okay, so you'll give every person one of these, and you can just mark it on there with a pen. You can also use foam board that you can get from the dollar store. That's really great to use to make measuring tools as well. It's a little more difficult to cut. It's really hard to cut with scissors. But if you have a significant other, or if you have some kind of jigsaw or something, Dave used to run them just right through the saw for me, and it would cut really easy. With the foam board, it is a bit thick, and if you cut it with scissors, it does fold down and bend. Now, because we're just using it for a measuring tool, it doesn't really matter if it folds down and bend. But this is just cardstock, like a thick cardboard cardstock chipboard, and it works perfectly well for what I need to use it for. Okay, and of course you're going to need your Unique Decree character board. You're going to need some Mod Podge. Now, this is, you do not have to bring this to the workshop. This is the prep beforehand. So you need the Mod Podge. You'll need a foam brush, some kind of squeegee. I use the Mod Podge squeegee that you can actually buy at the craft stores. I find it works really, really well. It's got a beveled edge, and it actually bends, so it gives you a good coverage and really secures it to the board for you. And a little bit of sandpaper, because we are going to scruff up the center of the character board. Even though it's rough already, I like to rough it up just a little more, because the more rough it is, the better the grip is for the Mod Podge and the paper to the board. So I just say rough it up just a little bit, and then you're going to need your face to Mod Podge. Now, you don't have to just use our digital inserts. You can find really, really nice decorative Christmas bags or gift bags, and cut out gift bags and actually Mod Podge those onto the center. I've Mod Podged greeting cards onto the center. At Christmas time I did that. You can pretty much Mod Podge anything you can Mod Podge anywhere else, you can do on the character board. We've seen a lot of people doing the acrylic pour on the boards, so that's really pretty. And then if you have a vinyl cutter, you can cut out some words and actually put words on top of the acrylic pour, and that's a lot of fun too. A lot more work than what I'm going to show you right now, but it does make a really, really nice project. But for a workshop, I would suggest just getting one of the digital inserts, and we do have instructions on how you download your insert and send it off to different printing companies like Staples or Office Max or whatever. And sorry, just checking. And yeah, and you one thing I wanted to say is you cannot print these on a inkjet printer. What will happen if you do try and print these on an inkjet printer, it's not, a laser jet is actually kind of burned into the paper, whereas an inkjet, the ink just sits on the paper. So when you go to put Mod Podge onto your center and swipe it with your squeegee, the ink is actually going to smudge off your paper. So you do have to use a laser printer. Now I know a lot of people don't have a laser printer, and that's why we suggest people sending it to different printer companies. If you order your inserts printed online rather than going into the store, they are less expensive. Okay. It's pretty easy. I do have a step-by-step tutorial for each printing company. I don't know if it's changed much, but it pretty much gives you the gist and walks you through on how to order your prints once you've purchased them. And like I said, again, we will be having some of our prints now. We have over 500 digital images. Not all of them are going to be available in paper copy from us, but a lot of the most popular ones will be. So right now I printed the turkey. There's the witch. I will be doing the witch probably next week with the yarn hair that I had posted before. There's a scarecrow, a mummy. So there's all kinds. Mrs. Claus. We got chocolate Santa. So, and some of these, like I said, are only available in a paper print because I did purchase them and we can't sell them as a digital image. Okay, so I am going to actually pull out I might as well do the witch, because I will be doing the witch next week on a Facebook Live and show you guys how I actually did the hair on the witch. So you'll get your print like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out. So you're just going to cut around the circle. Now, some of the older prints that I first did have instructions on the paper. Don't worry about that, because you're just going to cut the instructions off the paper and toss them in the trash anyways. Okay, so you're just going to cut around the edge of the circle. Some of the circles are just a faint gray line. Let's see if I have one here. Mrs. Claus. So you can see that there's just a faint gray line. That's where you want to cut that one out. Okay, there's a bit of space here to give the deco mesh room so it doesn't like encroach totally on the center of her face. But this gray line is the line that you're going to cut around to Mod Podge. Now this one, I've done black on the around the outside, but I can see a faint line in there, so I know that's where her face is starting, and I gave myself a little bit of grace for my deco mesh so I don't totally cover up her face. Okay, now this is garbage. And we have our little container here. Now again, this is some prep you probably would do at home before you do your workshop. Now you want to make sure your area is nice and clean and there's nothing on your board, because if there's any hair or anything, sometimes you can see it through the paper. This is 32-pound paper. I find that 32-pound is the perfect weight for the paper. If you use a little lighter weight, like a 24-pound or 26-pound, it sometimes tends to, the paper tends to wrinkle, just because it's so thin. So 32-pound is the perfect poundage for doing this. Now, I usually put some wax paper, sorry, I have to grab the thing, underneath my work area so I don't muck up my cutting mat. And you can just grab a box of wax paper from the dollar store and just have it handy, and then you can just throw it away once you're done. So I'm only going to do one character board Mod Podging right now, but if you're doing a workshop, you'll probably end up doing many, so you'll have them placed all over your house waiting to dry. Okay, so you have your Mod Podge, you have your brush, and you have your squeegee. And you also have a little piece of sandpaper. You can just use sandpaper from the dollar store. Like I said, we're just gonna, even though this is rough, we're gonna scratch it up a little bit so it has more grip. So I'm just gonna go across it like this. Not hard. Brush that off, and then I just turn it a bit and do it the other way. And that's all you need. We're just scratching the surface a little bit just to give it some more grip. Okay, and then shake your Mod Podge. Now we're gonna make sure that there's nothing on your board. Any debris or anything will show through on your paper. Okay, so you're just gonna pour a little bit of Mod Podge onto your board. Okay, take your brush. I use the flat side of the brush, and then I spread it around. You want it to go right to the first line here from the center. Okay, and you don't want a ton, but you don't want too little. So you want it so you can see a white film. My Mod Podge is old, so there's little crunchies in it. So I just swirl it around, hair, dog hair. But you do want to make sure that you do go just outside that circumference number 2 on the character board. Okay? That's my dog eating. I really need to get a studio. Okay. So when you are Mod Podging, you want to make sure that your hanging holes are at the top. Okay, because you don't want to get your image on there and your hanging holes will be over here, and then it's not a big deal because you can just use one of these holes to make your hanger. But it's nice that if you have the hanging holes right at the top. And then you're going to line up your image. So I'm just kind of going up, straight up the line here, right where this 2 is right here, in the middle of her face. Okay, and now it doesn't have to be totally perfect, because once you put the mesh and everything on, you're not going to see the edges or anything. So I take my brush that has still some Mod Podge on it, and I just give it a little rub here. Okay, this, putting a little bit of Mod Podge on the image will help glide your squeegee. So you're going to start from the middle and work your way out. Oh, it had hair on it. Again, pull it, and you're pushing and bringing it out. And you're going to go all the way around. Okay, so we went all the way around. Look for any air bubbles. And then once you know that it's secure, you don't see any air bubbles, then you can go around and kind of take off the excess Mod Podge so there's no lines on her face. Now you will see lines of Mod Podge on the surface, but that will dry clear. Okay, and then you're just going to clean up your board a little bit. You can get a cloth and wipe it down, but this will dry clear and you won't see it. Now when you pick it up, you are going to want to make sure your back is cleared from the Mod Podge as well. Okay, so that's it. Now this will take probably about 15 minutes to dry. You can add another coat of Mod Podge if you wish, or you can let it dry, and then once it's dry, I like to seal it. Only because it's going to be on a front door. Most wreaths are on a door, and there is a chance of it getting damp or wet. And because this is paper, the Mod Podge is a sealant, so there is coverage there if you do not spray your board, because it is a sealant. But if you add an extra sealant over top, so it seals, protects, and revitalizes, just do a quick spray over your image after it's dry and let that dry, and then your image won't come off, and it will repel some of the water if it does get damp, and it won't peel off, and it'll prevent any fading or anything. Oh, my beignet's in the middle. So you can use a few things to seal it. You can use, I like to use the Rust-Oleum. This is, make sure it says it clear. You want non-yellowing. Folk Art has a clear coat. What else do I have here? Krylon, there's another one, is clear. You can use gloss or matte, it doesn't matter, but it does matter if you're going to use the same can for spraying your mesh to prevent fading, because if you're going to spray your mesh with this as well, you want to make sure it's not matte, because the matte will dull your mesh down. So a good rule of thumb is just grab a satin or a clear or a gloss and just use the same can for your center and your mesh. That way you don't screw up, because it will dull your mesh, and you don't want that happening, especially if you have metallic in it. You want it to shine through. Now this is almost dry already, but we want it to cure, and then I will spray it. So that's it for the Mod Podging. So it basically makes your frame and your sign all in one. Hair all over it. But anyways, like I said, we have over 500, I think there's over 500 images right now. And some of the images, again, are not on the website, or are not available in digital, but we will have them in paper copies. Okay, so that one's all ready for me to do next week when I go to do the witch tutorial. So I do have this Santa here all ready to go for us to play with. So Santa is going to have a hat. Like I said, this hat came from the Dollar Tree. I am going to put a little bit of stuffing in it with just shopping bags, but I'll do that at the end. When you are doing your hats for your workshop, you may want to pre-put your pipe cleaners in it, because you want to poke a hole and put a pipe cleaner. So this is going to sit on Santa's head, and we will feed the pipe cleaners through the holes, just like that. Once we have, you know, his hair and everything on. So it is much easier to poke the hole, put the pipe cleaner on for your attendees. That way they're not trying to figure out like where to put the pipe cleaners or anything else. I put them about an inch in from the edge of the hat. So it's really not rocket science. And once you get your Santa all done, and you put it in, you won't see the pipe cleaners or anything like that. Okay, you can even use zip ties, but it's, make sure you mark the holes somehow by, you know, even tying a string in there or something, just so they can see where the holes are. Okay, but we'll come back to that in a bit. Okay, so we will be using this white iridescent snowball mesh. We are going to be using zip ties. Like I said, I am going to light him up. And I do have some really cute ribbon. I might make a bow for the bottom of him here, and a little bow to match and put it on his hat. I have this little poinsettia that I was thinking maybe putting in between, like in the middle of his bow. And these are just little doodad things from the dollar store. You know, you get a pack of 20 of these little things. And if you give one person each one, it's just a little extra something that they can put on their Santa. But you don't have to do that. Same with the lights. They don't have to put the lights on. The lights do give it a really cute touch. These are 20 lights. And again, they are the timered lights. So if you are doing lights for your attendees, you're going to need tape and obviously 2 batteries. These ones are take 2 AA batteries. And I also put on the back, now you can get these at the dollar store as well, in the tools section. They're little hook and loop fasteners, or otherwise known as Velcro. They're little squares, and you can give each person that's going to put lights on their wreath one of these squares, and this square will go on the back side of your battery pack. Okay, I'm just going to zoom this down a bit. So we're going to put on the battery pack, there's a little arrow here, and that is to open the battery case. So you don't want to put your Velcro on that side of your lights, because if they have to change the lights, there we go, it's much easier just to put it on the other side. So you just take the tape or the paper, peel it off, and put it on the back side of the battery pack. And then once the lights are on the battery pack, we'll take this paper off and you'll put it on the back side of the board, and voila. Sometimes I like to hide it just on the bottom here, and it gets hidden with all the mesh. As long as they can get to the on-off switch, you're good to go. With these lights, once you turn them on, you don't have to do anything else with them again, because they, like I said, they will shut themselves off. Okay, now with the lights, you want to make sure before you tape them onto your board, you want to make sure that they're working. That is one big thing. Nothing like getting your wreath done, go to turn your lights on, and it's like, brah, 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 your lights are broken, or they're the bad batch. So I always test them before I commit and zip them all in. For the lights, you can either face, you know, you can do one facing the face and the other facing outwards. You can do them all facing the face. It depends what look you want to go for. I like to kind of face them towards the face, light them up a little bit, and it's really easy to add the lights. You just take some Scotch tape. Now I know there's some people that don't tape their lights to the board and they just zip tie them right in, which is perfectly fine. If you've done this a few times, you're probably good at doing that. So, but I just, when I'm doing them for teaching, I just get them to tape them onto the board. Okay, so we want to make sure some of the wire is going to be between these 2 holes here. Not all of them have to be, but some of them have to be, so that make sure that they're zip tied onto the board. Okay, so I'm going to try and space these pretty evenly. So what I'm doing is I'm using this outside line of the blue here as kind of a guide for the tip of the lights to go. So they'll all be the same. And I'm just going in between each set of holes here. Now you will have some extra going around. Once we get around, you will have a few extra. I just add them to the bottom there. So we do want to make sure some of the wires are through. So you may have to tape the wire in the spot where, to make sure that some of them are going to go through the double holes there, to make sure they are going to be zip tied onto the board. Now if you really don't care where your lights are, then you can just tape them wherever. I'm just kind of trying to space them so that they're evenly and that they're hitting his face. Not doing a very good job at taping here. There we go. Now, like I said, this is a step you do not have to offer. You don't have to offer the lights. It's just a really cool little effect. And it's easy to do, and the lights are not really that expensive. And it doesn't matter how much tape you really use, because your mesh is going to cover all the tape anyways, so you will not see the tape. Okay, we're at the end, and you can see we have a few lights left, so I'll probably go this way and come back around and swing it around this way. So the bottom of him will be just a little bit brighter. Okay, so they're all evenly spaced. This will go under the board. And I'll probably just put the other remaining lights just going downwards. There we go. So it's just going to run around by his neck here at the bottom. Alrighty, so we're done the lights. So it is an extra little step, but it does make a really fun wreath when it's done. Okay, so we are done the lights. We can shut them off and just continue on with our wreath. So now you're going to get zip ties. Okay, and you're going to explain how to put the zip ties in. So what we're going to do is we're going to be preloading the board, and we're going to be preloading circumference number 2 on the board. And when they preload it for this project, they're not going to close the zip ties. What they're going to do is go down one hole and up the other and leave it open. Now, when they do that, you want to make sure the flat part of the zip tie is facing the ceiling. And that way, when they go to close it, it will always be in the right direction every time. So you may want to teach them or get them to take a couple zip ties to practice with, and tell them about the zip tie, that the end will be going in the flat part of the zip tie. You can see that. And there's more of a beveled side on the other side of the zip tie head. It's always the end going into the flat part. If they go in backwards, it's really hard to do the zip tie up. And if they do end up getting it through, I got it through, you will not hear nothing and it will not lock. If that happens to them, tell them to look at their zip tie and turn it around, because it should do that and lock. Okay, so if you're doing the workshop, you might want to make sure that they know how to work a zip tie. And when you're walking around the room, just keep an eye out for anybody that may look like they're struggling with the zip ties, because a lot of people won't say that they don't know how to work one, but you know, they probably have never worked one. So circumference number 2, we're going to be preloading open all the way around. So there's 16 of them. So they're going in down one hole and up the other, with the zip tie facing the ceiling, the flat part. So we want to make sure that some of the wires are between the 2 holes here. So as you can see, like for instance, this one right here, it will be zip tied onto the board once I put the mesh in. Every hole doesn't have to have oh, I covered this hole with tape. My dogs are just riled up today. I'm not sure why. Okay, down and up. Up and 2 more, down and up. And let's stick that wire in there. Down and up. So I just want to go around and make sure some of the wire is in the zip ties, which they are, so they will not fall off the board. Okay. So this is ready and prepped to go. So we are going to do our mesh now. Let me put this away here. Okay, so we're using 10-inch mesh, and this mesh is called a snowball mesh. It's really, really popular for doing projects like this, especially for the snowman and the Santa and Mrs. Claus. It just gives it a really cool effect. And you can buy snowball mesh pretty much anywhere that sells mesh now. It used to be a lot more of a rarity, but nowadays you can pretty much find it anywhere, and you can find it in all kinds of colors as well. This one, you can buy it with iridescent metallic in it, or no metallic at all, just the snowball. They have snowdrift mesh. Snowdrift has actually more of these little white fuzzies in it. It gives it more of a snowball effect, but this works really well for making this project for the Santas and Mrs. Clauses and stuff. Okay, so you gave everybody a roll of mesh. Get one person at the tables, whoever's sitting at their tables, to collect all the garbage and put it into the trash bin, so that way it's all put away. And the key is trying to keep everybody organized. It helps so much when you're trying to teach. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut some ruffles for the outer edges. So row number 1 on the board has 8 outer edges. So if I flip this over, you can see there's 8 holes. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those 8 holes, we are going to do a ruffle effect, almost like a woodland ruffle or a cruffle or a kerfuffle, however you want to say it. It's more of rolling in the edges and then making a ruffle. Okay. We are going to do 8 of those. So what you want them to do is unroll a little bit of their mesh, okay? And because this is 9 inches, we want to cut 8 18-inch pieces, okay? 8 18-inch pieces. So if they put their cardboard down, and flip it over. Put something of weight. Usually I tell them to put their phone on it or something to hold the mesh. And their scissors, and if they just cut up, they have an 18-inch piece. Okay, so you're going to get them to cut 8 of these. Now you can pre-cut the mesh for them if you would like, if you have a time constraint, but it is DIY, so when I'm doing my workshop, I like them to cut their own. But sometimes you can't get like a hall or a room for very long, so you may have to do this for them. They only need 8. The rest of the ones that we preloaded the zip tie for, they are going to be little poofs. And I'll show you in a second. They're going to be 9-inch poofs. And that is why, again, we have our measuring tool at 9 inches. So not only is it going to measure your ruffles for them here by just doubling over, that makes it for 18 inches. We're going to also use it for their poofs, and then that avoids the cost of having to buy a cutting mat and rotary cutter for everybody. So give them a piece of cardboard and some scissors, you're good to go. So we got 3. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because we are doing like a woodland ruffle, so that will you won't see the edges, and once you ruffle it up, you can't even tell if it's 18 inches. But 18 inches is a good size, and they have a whole roll of mesh. They're not going to use a whole roll of mesh. So we got 3, 4, 5. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. 7. And again, if you want to do this part for them, you could actually take a couple rolls of mesh, and if you're doing it at home, you can use your cutting mat and your rotary cutter and do it a lot quicker than this. But usually a workshop goes about 2 hours anyways. Even if you get them to cut their mesh, you're still going to be within the 2-hour limit, even with them talking and stuff like that. So okay, so I think we got enough here. Okay, so 3. All right. Once they've cut their mesh, we're going to put this roll aside and we're going to put the ruffles on. So they're going to take their board again. We don't need the cardboard anymore right this second. We will need it for the poofs. They are going to need the zip ties. And here's where you're going to get them to put their hanging string in. Now you can use a zip tie for the hanging string. You can use string, you can use twine, you can use ribbon if you want to make a nice ribbon hanger. But they all have zip ties. I just normally get them to use zip ties. You're going to go up the hole here, so right in the middle of the hanging holes is the number 1, and you'll notice the hanging holes are divoted in or chamfered in, and that just indicates that they're the hanging holes. Okay, they're just going to do it up a little bit, a few clicks, and then cut the tail off, and now there's the hanger. Okay? Okay, our prep is done. All right, so what we're going to be working on is these outside 8 holes. So what you're going to do is get them to put a zip tie from the back onto one of these, into one of these 8 holes. And now it doesn't matter where they start, just tell them to pick a hole. And the zip tie is going to go kind of in an L shaped. So the head of the zip tie is laying on the table with the flat part of the zip tie facing the ceiling. That way when we go to put it together, it is going to zip up like it's supposed to. All right, now they're going to take one of this 18-inch piece of mesh, and they can either, if you're going to give them clothespins, which I always give clothespins at my workshop, it just gives it another hand for them to help hold their mesh or whatever. They can clothespin that side and then go to the other side and kind of roll this side. Okay, and then they're going to scrunch it in the middle. And what it does is it rolls the edges and it actually forms a ruffle as well. You can do it that way, or you can just get them to simply put the mesh in front of them with the curl side down and scrunch it just right up the middle. However you want to teach them is totally up to you. Both methods work perfectly fine. So again, it's just scrunching with your thumb and your 4 fingers. You're just getting them to scrunch right up the center of their mesh, and it makes like pleats. And so you're pulling the mesh down and towards your thumb, okay, just like that. And it's making like a bow tie shape, okay. What they're going to do now is they're going to, I like to flip my mesh upwards, kind of like that. Put the middle of it right down on the board so it's in between the head of the zip tie and the tail, and get them to zip it up. Okay, and you want to, this just gives the appearance of a larger wreath, but still fitting in between 2 doors. So it just makes it that much bigger. So they can zip it and then cut the tail. Okay, move to the next one. So every other one, there'll be 3 holes here, and that's the next one we're going to hit. So again, just bring, you can either go down and have the head, so it's like an L shape. Hopefully you guys can see that. Or you can have the head this way. It doesn't really matter. So they're going to go down, have it on the table. The flat part of my zip tie head is still facing the ceiling. They're going to take their mesh, again, depending which method you teach them. You can also show them that they can roll it on both ends without even a clothespin, and then just scrunch it. You can use your chest to do it. So you can hold it up against your chest, roll it in, and then scrunch it up in the middle. However you want to teach it, or you feel comfortable, it'll work either way, either method that you do. I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to just scrunch it totally. Actually, this one is really wonky. There we go. I'm just going to do it right up the center. Pleating up the center, so it makes like an accordion fold here. Just like that. Okay. I kind of flip it, so what I'm doing is I'm flipping that ruffle up so it's going towards the outside. And if you put it in between your fingers like that, you have more control, and you can stick the zip tie, put the folded part right down on the board, and get your zip tie. Okay. You can do the ruffles or the poofs on the inner poofs first and then do the ruffles. I just find that if you show the ruffles first and put the ruffles all on, they're not digging through mesh to look for these holes. Okay. Again, get our mesh, get the curls down on towards the board, scrunch up the middle, and turn it upwards. Now you don't have to, they're not going to use a full roll of mesh. That's why I'm making my ruffles a little bit bigger. Oh, I forgot to put my zip tie in. You can, however, just use like a 9-inch piece of mesh. It will give it the same effect, just not as big. This wreath is going to look very big once it's done. That's because I did my outside ruffles so big. Again, just scrunch it right up the center. With the snowball mesh, there's actual line of snowball going up the center, so they can just follow that line. So you can put the zip tie through. The zip tie is right in the center of that ruffle, and you're going to zip it up. Okay, a few more outside ones. Oh, we're coming to where we had some lights down here. Now, when you're doing workshops, you want to make sure that you actually first do the project to make sure you know how you're going to teach it and know what the outcome is going to be. Plus, people that are coming to your workshop, they may not be really crafty, and you will need to show a picture or the actual finished product at the workshop so they can refer back to it, because a lot of people are visual, so they'll want to see what they're actually making before they start it, so they can kind of grasp the concept when you're telling them. So when you're talking to them, telling them they're going to do this big ruffle on the outside, they're going to be like, well, what the heck is that for? But if they see the ruffle going around the outside, they're going to be like, oh, okay, that's why we're doing that, because it makes it a little bit bigger and it gives it some dimension. Same with when you're advertising for your workshop. You want to make sure you take a really nice picture of the product that you'll be making, or the end result that you'll be making. So take a nice picture. Don't have your laundry in the back, dirty laundry in the background of a picture or anything like that. Take a nice picture. Make sure, you know, all your mesh is trimmed up and looks good, because they'll see that and they'll for sure want to make that. And pretty much anybody, you don't have to be really crafty to make one of these. As long as they can make, they can use scissors. Pretty much anybody can make one of these with a good teacher as well. So being a good teacher means basically being very patient. Again, we don't know what skill level their crafting skills are. You know, everybody's got some crafty in them, but you just sometimes have to pull it out. So you just, like I said, you just assume anybody coming into your workshop only knows how to use a pair of scissors. And if you assume that for everybody, including like working the zip tie, you just assume nobody knows how to work the zip tie, and you just show them. And if you see somebody struggling, you don't call them out, because they might be a little bit embarrassed. You don't want anybody being uncomfortable or anything like that. So if you see them struggling, just lightly go up to them and just kind of maybe take the zip tie and just show them quietly how the zip tie works, and not calling them out in front of the class or anything that, you know, this person doesn't know how to work a zip tie, ha ha ha. Okay, so you can see how much bigger this wreath just got just by putting these ruffles in. So you can keep them at 18 inches, or you can just have them cut them at 9 inches. That's totally up to you. I know we're going to have extra mesh, so go big or go home. Might as well give them big ruffles. Okay, there we go. That is done. And cut that off. So we are almost done, because the next part is very easy. We can now, I think I might just put my battery pack on the side here, or I could put it on behind the wreath. Let's see. I'm just going to take the paper off, and I'm just going to stick it in behind on the back side of the wreath ring. Okay, so now you're going to get them to get their deco mesh again. Okay. Now, when you're doing the workshop, they may want to just drop their deco mesh to the floor. It's much easier instead of it escaping into the next person's workspace. So usually I just get them to just drop it right on the floor, and they're going to take the edge or the end of the mesh and just ruffle it up just like this, and we're going to secure it in any spot. It really doesn't matter. You're just going to get them to zip tie the end of it to the board. So we're just kind of anchoring that mesh onto the board. Okay, now they're going to get their measuring tool. So we're going to be doing 9 inches. So when they're measuring their poofs, you want them measuring lengthwise, not widthwise, okay? Lengthwise, we want a 9-inch poof. You can make it 8 inches if you think 9 inches is too poofy. That's totally up to you, again, as the instructor. When you are making your wreath for your example, just take notes as you're making it, so that when you're teaching it, their wreath is going to look close or very similar to yours, because that's what the end result will want them to be, because you want them to have that total I made that moment, because that at the end of the day is a really great feeling, and is a lot of the reason why I did workshops all the time, because a lot of people this day of age don't get to use their hands a lot, and when they get to make something and make something so pretty, they're very proud of what they did. So they like to brag, especially with their friends. Their friends come over and say, "Oh, where'd you get that wreath?" And they're like, "I made it." Most people, 9 out of 10, will say, "No, you didn't." But, so that's all they're going to do, is just put the measuring tool in, pull the mesh to the end of the measuring tool. You're going to get them to push it up to a poof here, and they just zip where that 9 inch is right onto the board. It might be easy to cut. Usually I wait till the end and cut all my zip ties, but because we're using white mesh, it might be easier to get them to cut their ends of their zip ties off as they're going, because it's hard to see the ends. And once all the poofs are on, we're going to open them all up, and it's going to cover everything on the board, so you won't see the board. Now make sure they don't throw out your measuring tools when they're done with them, because you can reuse them for another workshop. Now, another thing to keep in mind is these people are coming into your workshop thinking they're going to fail already. Okay, none of them think they are good enough to make something so pretty. And I've heard that many, many of times. So when they do actually finish their wreath and it does look, you know, pretty half decent, they really do get very excited. And you want them to have that excitement because they'll want to come back for it again. It's very addictive, that feeling. I don't know if you guys remember the first time you made a wreath, but it's a really good feeling to make something so pretty. But it's even better feeling to actually teach someone to make something really pretty and get to see their excitement on their face when they're completed. Some people do these classes to make gifts, especially through the holiday season. They like to make gifts for their loved ones. And the nice thing with the boards is they can actually put a date, write a date on the back with a Sharpie marker and put a little note or something to the person they're gifting it to. So wait till you see when the light's on. It actually is such a beautiful wreath. And I just ordered a whole bunch of lights for the holiday season. So if you are wanting to purchase some, they are on our website. I purchased them really early because they do go really fast, especially, you know, once September hits. So you can see how it's filling in and you're not seeing the board, and we haven't even opened up the poops yet. So just let them take their time. This really doesn't take a long time to do, but again, you want to remember they're there to have a nice, good time. They may be chatting a lot, so you don't want to get angry if people are like laughing and all that stuff, because that's what you really do want. Is you want them to have a good time. Almost done. Okay, we're down. So we do still have quite a bit of mesh left. So if they want, we have one more bubble to do our poof here. I am going to put another zip tie. So we anchored it right here. This is where we anchored it. I am going to put another one right there over top of that original zip tie where I anchored it. Make another poof to make sure that spot is covered. Okay, like that, and then we're going to cut it off the roll. Okay, so they can cut it off the roll. Now they do have some left. They can go back and add some more ruffles if they want. So you can put some 9-inch ruffles in between, you know, every other poof here. But that's totally up to you, and that, again, if time allows, they can just make a 10-inch or 9-inch ruffle. And again, it's just adding another layer of dimension. So you'd have to put another zip tie in right here. I'm just going to show you in case they do want to. You'd have to have extra zip ties for this, but just put a ruffle in there. Ruffle it up. Put the middle of it, and just like that. So it just gives it another more dimensional look. Okay, so they could probably get another, probably 4 or 5 ruffles out of that. I'm just going to undo that one because I'm not going to do it all around and it might look funny. So I'm just going to take that one out. Okay, so now we're going to open up our poofs here. So what I get them to do is you're going to tell them to stick their fingers in and find the serged edges of the mesh and open the poof up. Just like that. Stick your fingers in, grab for the serged edge or the finished edge and open it up. These are kind of big poofs. You can actually make them a little smaller if you'd like. You can do 8-inch poofs. Like I said, I would recommend making one first and taking notes of how you want to teach it to make sure everybody's doing it the same way. Pull it open like that, and we have a cute Santa with some hair. Okay, now we'll pull out the ruffles a bit, and he's gotten pretty big, and it's still less than a roll of 10-inch mesh. Now, like I said, if you want to make them 8-inch, the poofs will be a little smaller and a little tighter towards his face. It's totally up to you. Then you can add some more ruffles in between every other one if you want as well. Again, it's up to you how you want to teach it. It's your workshop. Okay, so he is done. There he is. And we're going to put our accessories on. I'm going to shut this light off for a sec so you guys can see what he looks like with the lights on. Okay, I'm going to put the light on here. So we still have a nice finished back with nothing sharp on it. And we have the lights, they're all facing towards his face. So his face is illuminated, and you'll see it really nicely when it's dark out. So the lights do make a little extra special touch. Okay, isn't that cute? All right, so we'll shut this off, and then we're going to put his hat on. Okay, so here's his hat, and what I did, it's just a hat from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to put him to the side for a second. You may want to do this at home before before your workshop. What I did is I folded the top of his hat down. I've already done it. I should have waited, and glued the pom-pom onto his hat so it stays folded like that. And I did poke, and all I used was scissors. So I used little sharp scissors. I just poked a hole through the hat and put a couple pipe cleaners. And it's about an inch in from the sides of the hat. And this is how they're going to attach the hat to the board. I may need longer pipe cleaners though. Find a couple longer ones. Okay, I don't have white ones, but these ones will do. So just poke it through and just give it a little twist. I've used this hack for demonstrating before, and I've cut the pipe cleaners a few times now. Now, I'm doing Santa. You can do any of the face characters the exact same way. So if you were doing Grinch, you would maybe use the green mesh, some kind of like apple green mesh or something. Or if you're doing a gingerbread, you may want to use more of a brown mesh, or a white and red striped mesh for a gingerbread would be cute. Okay, now you can leave, of course you can leave the hat flat and keep it like it is, and just get them to secure it. So what they'll do is just go down the holes here. Now it would be better if I had white pipe cleaners, and then the hat would just sit on his head like that. I'm just going to fill it a bit so it gives it more of a little bit of a 3D look. And to do that, I'm just going to use grocery bags. You can use stuffing. I just find the grocery bags, if the hat does get wet or something, the inside of the hat will be plastic and it will dry anyways. So again, you might want to do this beforehand, before you get to your workshop. So I just put 2 grocery bags, folded them up, and kind of stuffed it in there, and it just gives it a little more of a 3D effect. And I'm going to run a bead of glue, hot glue, just along the inside brim here, just to close the hat up so the bags don't fall out. And there we go, just hold that there. So it just gives it a stuffed look without having to use like stuffing, or like you said, if it gets wet, you don't want the stuffing inside going moldy or anything. So if it's plastic in there, if it gets wet, it'll dry a lot faster. Okay, now we're going to take our Santa. Now you also might, I did bring some ribbon, so you may want to make a bow for them, for their hat, or a bow for Santa's collar if you want. An easy way to make a bow for his hat, just cut, where did I cut this at? Cut it at 6 inches. You can cut maybe 2 pieces. And we'll just make a cute little bow for his hat. So I just cut 2 pieces of ribbon at 6 inches, and I'm just going to dovetail them here. Let's scrunch this up. That looks kind of cute. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. That doesn't look the greatest. I don't know. I'm just going to put a couple beads of glue down the center here and just make a cute little bow, like just a Now you may not want them using hot glue. A lot of times I would buy pull bows. I don't know if you guys know what a pull bow is. It's where they just pull string. Oh, that didn't work very well. They pull string and it makes and forms a bow. I use them a lot because we all know bow making is not my strong point, and to teach bow making, I really don't like to. So it's just easier for me just to buy a pull bow. They just pull the strings, tie it in a knot, and their bow is done. So I'm just going to put this around the center. Out like I wanted it to. not giving up. Can't even make the simplest bow. I think I'm a little tired. Put this over. Now you don't have to make a bow. You can buy little accessories from the dollar store, like with a little berry and holly or something like that to put on his hat, just to add a little bit of color and cuteness, I guess it would be. Okay, cut that off. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. My sad bow. Now let's put a bow here. Looks kind of silly, but I'll get something at the dollar store to make it look a little better. But you guys know what I mean. You have the little picks that have the little holly and berries and stuff on them. They look really cute on the bows, or on the hat, if you put it on the brim. Let's put his hat on and get this over with. Okay, so they can either put the hat where it's sitting straight down, or you can put it to the side a little, so Santa has his hat to the side. What they're going to do is take their pipe cleaner and go down, find the hole, 2 holes directly below the hat, and they're going to tie it on. Now they're not going to, don't get them to pull it down like this, just want to tighten it just a bit. Okay, just like that, and down the holes that are below this hat, this side of the hat. And again, I don't want to really yank it down. Now if I had white pipe cleaners, it'd be a little bit nicer, but, and just twist a little bit in the back. Kind of silly with this bow, but you guys got the gist. Okay, so if the hat is on where you want it, which he's way askew, I'm going to try that again. He's just a bit wonky. Let's try again. Maybe we will put him in the center. Okay, we'll go right here. So what I'm doing is going, there's your center right here. We know that because the hanging thing is there, the hanging zip tie. So I'm going on this side, and then I am going to go down this way, and that way it puts his hat a little askew to the side. The first time I did it was way to the side, too much to the side that I wanted. There we go. You could even mark the back of the board so where they don't struggle on which holes to put the hat in. So if you just mark a little bit on the back, like with a little bit of black Sharpie marker or something, just the outside of the holes, then they'll know where exactly to put their hat. There, that's better. So he's got it a little bit to the side. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, I'm going to pull some of the ruffles down so it looks like his bangs. You may want to have a few hot glue guns plugged in So they can put a little dab of glue on the back of the hat. Okay, and then you can push it down on the mesh. It'll stay in place and it won't flop over. So this is the very simplest way to do one or teach one of these wreaths. I have done it with feather boas, and you can do it with all ruffles. There's all kinds of ways you can do it with, what are they called? Tube things, like they're rolled up into tubes. This is the easiest way to actually teach one of these, and it turns out so cute, and you don't use a lot of supplies, like less than a roll of mesh. I'm going to turn the lights off so you guys can get the whole effect. So I really think the lights make the wreath. I don't know what you guys think. Isn't it cute? So it's not really hard to do. It's not hard to teach. As long as you got it prepped well, and you got everybody organized, it's not hard to do whatsoever. Okay, I'll turn the lights back on. I'll leave that there. What do you guys think? Isn't it cute? So if you were doing a snowman, you could do it the exact same way. Get a snowman hat. We could put a bow. I think I might just put a bow on the bottom here. There we go. He is so adorable. I am going to put a bow. I'm actually going to make one. So I'm going to cut one piece 14 inches. I'm going to cut one piece 12 inches. And I'm going to cut another piece, maybe two 14 and one 12. So this is going to be my tail. So I'm going to dovetail the end. Okay. Now this is an easy bow to make, but I do suggest either letting them have access to the glue gun or using glue dots. So when I would get them to make bows for their whatever they're making, I would go around and give every person a couple glue dots, and you can get a sheet of them, and they rip into little squares, and each square has a little glue dot on it. And to teach them an easy bow, just get them, I cut 2 at 14 and 1 at 12. So this is going to be the small part of the bow. So if you got them to fold it in half, slightly over, so you put a glue dot, but I am going to use an actual glue from my glue gun, but they would put a glue dot there, and then come over slightly over this edge here and put another dot of glue. Okay, and then they're going to do the same thing for their larger one. So this is the 14 inch. Again, fold it in half. Now if you have pull bows, it's so much better. I did use a pull bow in a couple of my other tutorials, but next time I do one of these, I will use a pull bow. A dot, a dot, and then we're going to flip this over. So we got a long piece and a shorter piece. Okay, we got your tails, so we want to make sure that this is folded in half, and we got the middle. Okay, you take a zip tie put the zip tie, you're going to run it underneath your tail, the middle of your tails, and underneath the center of your two pieces that you just overlapped. Okay, I'm going to do the zip tie up. Okay, and as you're pulling the zip tie tight, you're going to be scrunching up the middle. Want to keep it still centered, just like that. So it's just a cute little bow that you can put on his collar, but it's simple for them to make. Like I said, if you have glue dots, you can hand out some glue dots so they won't burn themselves or anything like that. And it's kind of cute. So it's a double bow, or you can try and teach them how to do a hand-tied bow. Keep in mind, again, more than likely they won't be able to do one because it is a little more difficult and you don't know what skill level they are. So you want to keep it simple. So they can fold over a ribbon, get them to put the zip tie or a pipe cleaner through the zip tie underneath the zip tie before they tighten it totally up. Okay, now they can tighten that zip tie up, cut the tail off, and they can attach their cute little bow to Santa's collar or wherever they want to put it. Let's see. We'll put it, this seems to be the center of Santa. So you're going to put one end, of course you want white zip ties again, one end of the pipe cleaner down one hole, the other down the other hole. Now don't get them to pull it too tight because it will sink down into Santa's fur or hair or whatever Santa has. I guess I should have made a bigger bow, but probably should have been a little bit bigger. But again, it's just a demo to show you what you can and can't do. Or anyways, make it a little bit bigger. I'm really striking out today teaching you guys. I apologize, but I just wanted you guys to get the gist of it. He's kind of cute. I would make the bow a lot bigger, but anyways, it matches his, you know, scary looking bow on his hat. But he still is really cute and fun to look at. My battery pack came off. And they will still be wowed no matter how it turns out in the end. They will still be wowed that they actually made something like this. And it wasn't too difficult. Alright, so I will take any questions. Actually, it looks really cute in my phone here. Yeah, it's the simple, obviously you're going to make the bow a little bit bigger. I kind of pulled it down too far. I'm going to loosen it. It just needs to sit on there a little bit, just like that. Okay, so these are just a few little ideas that you can do. You definitely add your own twist to it if you want, or you can teach it just like I did. But again, look how cute it turned out, and it wasn't hard. Okay, I know, thank you guys. I'm trying to get some tutorials done, especially for workshops. I have a really busy month coming up. Let me pull this up. Oh, I forgot my little poinsettia. Hold on. I did have this little poinsettia to go in the middle of his bow. So I'm just going to hot glue the back of it. This was just I don't know, it was in a pack of 20 from the dollar store. Just kind of Christmassy. You could even put a snowflake there or something. But just adds a cute little touch without costing a ton of money. Obviously make the bow bigger, but there we go. Easy. Obviously they would cut off their pipe cleaners edges for their hat and the bow. Oh, and I didn't even let it to dry. Oh my gosh, I'm just blowing it here. Anyways, that's Mr. Claus. You can do Mrs. Claus exactly the same. Use a one of those bonnets. What are those bonnets called, hun? Those nightcap things for Mrs. Claus, or you can give her a little bow in her hair, you know, something like that. Anyways, I'm just checking out any. I will be by the weekend, Brenda. Brenda asked if we're selling the printouts. We will be on the rink by the weekend. I did do ruffles, char on the outside 8 holes. Vicky, yes, you can make the snowman like that. If you go onto our YouTube channel, I do have quite a few that I did last year. So you just have to go down the pictures and click on one of the pictures that catches your eye, and I'll show you how to do it. It's probably a little bit, some of them are a little bit different than this one, so but it'll give you an idea of how you would like to teach your class. Okay, this is like one of the simpler ways, using less supplies, because you want to keep it economical so people will actually attend. If you get it too expensive, you know, a lot of people come with family members, so they'll, you know, they bring their grandmother and their mother and stuff like that. So you want to make it fun, and you want to keep it cost friendly. Hi, Jill. Mop hat, that's it. Thank you, Amy. I actually, in one of my tutorials I did last year, on the Mrs. Claus, I did a quick tutorial on how to make your own mop hat, and it turned out really cute. I put lace and everything around it, so look for that if you're thinking of doing Mrs. Claus. The mop hats are, you can buy them on Amazon. I think they come in like a 3-pack or a 6-pack or something, but they're not hard to make either. So if you're wanting to do a Mrs. Claus, have a look on how I made my mop hat, because it's really quite easy. Annie, I charge anywhere between $30 and $50 depending on what I'm making, depending how much accessories I add to the kit. So something like this, you're not looking at very much. Okay, so you're looking at about $1 for the printout. Maybe, let's say 10-15 cents for the Mod Podge that you use. Your 10-inch snowball mesh, each person needs 1 roll, so you're looking at about $5, $6, I guess. Your hat from the Dollar Tree, you can buy a case of these. So if you're thinking of holding workshops doing Santa, you can get on the dollartree.com. You can buy cases of them, and I think they come in 24 packs, but it's $1. So we got $1, maybe 6, so that's $7, $8, and then the board is $7, so that's $15. And depending if you add lights, you can add, if you want to give everybody their own set of lights, that's about $19. So if you double the price of the cost of the supplies, that's a good estimation on how much you should charge. So if you're spending about $20 on supplies, I would charge $40 to $45. So it's up to you. It's nice that you can teach, you know, so many people to make their own wreath without even having to make a wreath. So, you know, you get 30 wreaths made. There's something flying in the air. 30 wreaths made in like a 2.5 hour span, and you don't even have to make a wreath. So, which is a really good way to do wreathing in the Christmas season without having to make a ton of wreaths. You teach everybody how to make their own. Just give them the supplies and they do all the work. So, like even my workshops, I even make them cut their own mesh. I make them do everything. I just supply everything. I get a clear bag with a handle. I put all their supplies in, including the board, all their zip ties. And of course, I give extra zip ties And then I also put zip ties in the middle of the table in case they need more. Everybody gets a pair of scissors, a measuring tool, and depending whatever else you give them. It's quite easy. So I would suggest, if you're going to hold a workshop, to first hold one in your home with your friends and family or something. That way, when you're teaching it, you'll know what to expect, any problems that's going to come along or arise while you're teaching it, and any little things that you need to work out before you try and teach it to complete strangers. And then for your first workshop that you're doing with strangers, I would suggest no more than 10 people. You want to keep it small, and then work your way up as you get more comfortable, because you want to give each person some individual attention. So as they're, you know, making their poofs and stuff, you're going to walk around the room and check on the table, see if anybody at the table is struggling, if they need any help, if they have any questions. And you go around and do that for each table. And I just keep going around until we get to the next step. So you want to make sure that you're hands-on, that you don't get upset. Sometimes people can be rude. That's happened to me a few times, where, you know, you have to check yourself, check your tongue, check your face, especially if you're, you know, one of those ones that, you know, you can read your face big time. That would be me. That you're not giving, you know, rolly eyes and stuff like that, because that will really turn people off on coming back or referring you to anybody else. Because if they enjoy themselves, they definitely are going to tell people about you, and they are going to probably come back again. Okay, so you want to make it fun, keep it airy, make it a girls' night. When I do Christmas wreaths, I have holiday music playing while they wreath and stuff. I bring in goodies sometimes, and, you know, I make sure I get a hall that has an open bar or a cash bar, so that if they want a glass of wine while they're crafting, they can have one. And it keeps it a lot of fun, because a lot of the people that are coming to these are mid-aged or young or older that want to get out of the house. They may not have a ton of friends, and they just want to get out away from the kids. They don't want to go to a bar. So, you know, they spend $40 for the night and have a night out. That's perfect for them. So that's about all I have for you. Like I said, check out our YouTube channel. Go under character board, and you'll see all kinds of different ones I've done. If one catches your eye, just watch the video, and you may, you know, you may get a hint out of that video that I didn't show you on tonight's video, that you may want to do. Okay. All right. I'm just seeing if there's any questions. You get the board. You can order the board from uniqueinthecreek.com. You can get them from amazon.com. You can get them from craftoutlet.com, trendytree.com. There is a few places on Etsy, Down Home Crafty Things, Sparkles in the ATL. Just type in Unique in the Creek in the search engine of Etsy, and any of the stores that are on Etsy that are selling them will come on there. And you will be able to get them in September at Michael's Craft Stores and Michael's Online. They're only going to be in a select, I think, 365 stores right in September, but they should, by I think November, be in all the stores in the United States, and then come February they'll be in all the stores in the United States and Canada. So they're going to be everywhere, but you can order them from us right directly, and Amazon. Amazon, if you need them really fast, you can get them from Amazon pretty much the next day. Okay. I'm hoping, I have it all uploaded, Amy. I'm hoping to have everything done. The printer's all set up. We have everything set up at the office. So I'm hoping yes, I'm hoping by the weekend that we can offer the printed images. Okay. Yeah, it depends. It depends what I charge. It depends how much supplies and what I'm giving them. For instance, if you're going to do a snowman, you may have a snowman hat that's worth, you know, you may have paid $6 for the snowman hat. So that's a lot more than this dollar store Santa hat. So you're going to have to adjust your prices depending on what supplies. So a good rule of thumb is to either add up all your supplies and then times it by 2 or 2.5. Whatever you feel comfortable with, and whatever you think will people will pay in your area. I live on Stony Creek Mountain, which has a little bit more cash flow than, say, downtown Hamilton. So I could charge more for workshops in Stony Creek Mountain than I could downtown Hamilton, because people will actually pay it up here. So you have to kind of do a little bit of research, and depending on where you're going to hold it, you know, you'll know your area. And a good place to advertise is on Facebook Mom Buy and Sells. A lot of moms like to get out of the house away from their kids and their spouses to go out for a girls' night. Like I said, they don't want to go to the bar, but they want to go and have a good time with their girlfriends, and these are perfect for them. And they get to, you know, they may make something and want to come back to the next one to make another one for, say, their parents for Christmas. So those are really good. Garage sale, buy and sells, they're a good place to advertise. Right in the hall that you're holding it at, see if you can put a flyer up there. Yeah, so you can put a flyer up at your grocery store on the bulletin board. And just word of mouth. Get your friends to spread it through Facebook, especially if you're local and you're having it in a local area. So you reach out to your friends in that area to spread the word. You can also do kits. So what you could do, now it would be a little bit more, but you would give them their roll of mesh. You would give them their hat. You could stuff it already like you would for a workshop. Have their face already Mod Podged on, but have everything in a kit, including their little measuring tool, which is just a piece of cardboard. And they could pick up the kit from your home, and you can schedule a Facebook Live, and people can make the Santa or whatever you're making on the Facebook Live with you at the same time. Or if they can't join you at that time, they can still make it and catch the replay. So you would just arrange for them to come pick up their kit at your house and take it home with them, and then tell them when you're going to have the Facebook Live and teach them how to do it. So that's another fun way. So I would do that through the week, and on a Friday or Saturday, I would hold a workshop in an actual hall or community room or whatever. So I would kind of do 2 workshops a week, one for those people that can't get out, and one for the people that want to get out. So, Marge, I do not know what stores they're going to be in yet. They will probably send me a list when they all get to their destinations. But once we have that list, we will be letting everybody know. All right, that's all I have for you tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed that, learned a little something. If you are wanting to do workshops, just plan it really well, keep yourself organized, and just have fun. If you're not having fun, they're not going to have fun. So you need to have it fun, keep it light and airy. Do not tell people, do not overthink it. It's just a craft. There's no mistakes in crafting. You know, if they do something wrong, it's just cutting off a zip tie and re-putting a zip tie, and I screw up all the time. Yeah, it is what it is, right? We're human. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me, and I will cut this video down a bit and put it on our YouTube channel so you can refer back to it. Okay? Thanks for joining me, guys. Good night, everybody.